Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Omega Speedmaster 57, the 1957 Trilogy watch. This is a limited edition that came out in 2017 of 3,557 pieces. The whole point of this watch was to celebrate three different watches that came out in 1957, and the Speedmaster was one of them. The other ones were the Seamaster and the Railmaster, but probably the most popular of those limited editions was this one right here. Now this is a Omega produced reproduction of the original Speedmaster. Before it was the moon watch, it was a racing watch, and the original ones had what they call the broad arrow hands, which you can see here, as well as the first ever watch to have the tachymeter scale on the bezel and not on the dial. That is what the Speedmaster was known for and created for. So the question I had when wearing this watch, because this was true to original, I'll explain that in a second, was does the Speedmaster work as well today in our modern era as it did in 1957 from a style perspective? The watch is 38.6 millimeters wide, which is a little bit smaller than I normally wear, but it's a thicker case, especially with the Hazelite crystal, which is the acrylic crystal, and I found myself quite enjoying it. Again, a little bit on the small side for sure, but definitely a good daily wear. And I found it to be just a fun, awesome watch. There's one modern element on here, and that is on the bracelet, Omega included their micro adjustment, which is really useful. But for otherwise, the watch is very much like the original. It does have the manually wound caliber 1861, so this is the same movement that you'll find in your Speedmaster Professional moon watch. Manually wound, a good sort of old style time and chronograph movement. So the funny story that Omega told me when this watch came out is how they got the case shape. They didn't have any of the original specifications from the 50s, so it was difficult for them to know the exact dimensions. So what they did in the Omega Museum is take an original 1957 Speedmaster, and they had to choose a few, right, because they're in various different conditions. They found the one that was the right one, and they did a 3D scan in order to determine the exact case. So this is about as close as you can get to the dimensions of the original. And one of the coolest things that they told me was that they determined, and they didn't know this, no one knew this, all the different Omega logos are slightly different shape. So there's something like 5 or 6 different logos on the case and the bracelet and the dial, and each of them's a little bit different. And that's because at the time in the 50s, there were various different suppliers that were producing parts for Omega, and Omega didn't have like an official standard for the logo. There was no standard that says it had to look exactly like this, these dimensions. So the applied logo on the dial, the one on the crown, the one on the back of the case, the one on the deployment clasp, as well as the one that is very difficult to see on the Hazelite crystal, which is right in the center there. It's sort of a fraud protection device. Each of these is slightly different in shape, which for me is one of the stories that I like. Maybe not everyone's into that, but I found that to be really cool. Omega did a nice job creating a vintage feel to it, so you have that aged loom look. Some people get a little bit irritated about aged loom color, but I happen to find it a very attractive luminant color. I think that a lot of people who got this watch at the time of review, it's interesting, this is all sold out. There's probably a few still out there here and there. There'll be ones that'll come on the secondary market, but it's interesting to review a watch that's all sold out. But the point was, I think that in addition to a bracelet, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to put this on various types of straps, and tan or brown straps I think would look very good on this Omega Speedmaster 57 chronograph. Cool watch. All sold out. I think the only ones, if you really want to get, are the fancier ones that come in a set of 3, but that was a very expensive set. So this is the Omega Speedmaster 57 chronograph, 38.6 millimeter, the 1957 Trilogy watch. Retail price is $7,250. You can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch.